What if I told you that Shadow's story as we know it today is not anymore what it used to be? It's currently confirmed that Shadow's memories of his past with Maria were real, but in his debut game, they were never supposed to be. Sonic Adventure 2 built Shadow's entire character arc around one thing: fulfilling Maria's wish. But the reality is, there was no confirmation in the game that their memories together even happened at all. Even though the series' later games and media would retcon this, everything in the original Adventure 2 story, the canon and obscure Adventure 2 Perfect Guide, and even Sonic X prove it's basically guaranteed that Shadow and Maria never even knew each other. His past, his memories of Maria, none of it was real. It was all fake. This isn't some wild fan theory. This is the real, original intention behind Shadow's story that you can still see if you play Adventure 2 today with the right viewing lens. The developers truly wish to envelop Shadow's character with an incredible sense of ambiguity and uncertainty, and it totally changes how we view the character. This is Mr. Fascinating, and in this video, let's discover what Shadow's story was really supposed to be, and how the later games completely stripped away the mystery from it. To understand why Shadow's past is so mysterious, we have to look at how Adventure 2 tells its story. Unlike other characters, Shadow's memories are shown only from his own perspective. Every time we see Maria, every time we hear her voice, it's through Shadow's point of view. His recollection of his memories. We never get an objective confirmation that these memories are real. And here's where things start to break down, because during the last story cutscenes, in the original Japanese version, we learned that Gerald Robotnik finished Project Shadow only after Maria's death. Yes, that's right. Maria died, and only then Shadow was fully created. That means Shadow shouldn't have even existed as a completed being when Maria was still alive. Shadow was created purposefully to be Gerald's instrument of destruction, and the most effective way to make sure Shadow carried out Gerald's revenge: manipulating his mind. This isn't speculation. In the same scene, Gerald outright states that he has perfect, absolute control of Shadow's memories. Of course, Shadow clearly remembers being with Maria, living with her, talking to her. But there is just no way these memories could have happened. Most fans think Gerald altered specifically Maria's wish in Shadow's mind to make it one of revenge. He could have altered the memories just enough to twist Maria's final wish into a message of hatred, fueling Shadow's desire for revenge. But how much of Shadow's memory was changed? Could it be that Shadow never actually interacted with or met Maria at all? As Shadow was made only after Maria's death, the only logical conclusion is that Shadow's life with Maria, the entire thing, was all made up. Those memories weren't his own. They were planted in his mind, and that is the cruelest part of Gerald's wicked plan. Shadow never having met Maria sounds impossible, until you realize that every memory of Maria is completely one-sided. We never see Maria and Shadow together from anyone else's perspective. Shadow's entire sense of identity is built on memories that only exist in his own mind. Every time we see Maria in the game, it's from the viewpoint of Shadow's mind, the memories that we know for sure were tinkered with. Even the game itself plants doubt. When Rouge investigates Project Shadow's files, she directly questions Shadow about him being the real ultimate life form, the real Shadow. Do you actually believe you're the real Shadow? All of your memories might be fake. And instead of rejecting the idea, instead of insisting that his past is real, Shadow just pauses and says that even if his memories are fake, they mean everything to him. He will carry on Maria's wish regardless of it being real or not. So, if Shadow was finished after Maria's death, how exactly did Gerald work on Project Shadow after he was already arrested? If Gerald manipulated Shadow's entire past, if everything was a fabricated illusion, then what truly happened on the Ark incident, the day Shadow was ejected into the Earth? The truth about what truly happened in Shadow's past comes from a hidden piece of Adventure 2 lore that most fans never even knew existed. Tucked away in Sonic Adventure 2's Perfect Guide is a document called The Truth About 50 Years Ago, written by Rouge the Bat. This document is canon to the game's story and provides key details about what really happened during the Ark incident. And here's where things get strange. The document states that Maria did eject the Project Shadow capsule toward Earth during the gun invasion, but it never says that she and Shadow were actually friends. There's not a single mention of their bond. It even reaffirms that Shadow was not fully complete at the time of the Ark raid. It outright states that when Maria ejected the capsule, Project Shadow was still unfinished. Gerald continued working on Shadow from Prison Island, but it is left unknown if Gerald was working on a newly made replica, or if it really was the same Shadow that was ejected. This is where him maybe not being the real Shadow comes from. That alone changes everything. If Shadow wasn't finished, then how could he have lived a happy life with Maria? How could he have spent time playing with her and forming the bond that we see in his memories? This is where Sonic X comes in. The anime series was actually supervised by Sonic Team, including Adventure 2's director Takashi Iizuka and writer Shiro Mikawa. These two creative minds that were behind Adventure 2's vision had full control of every single line of dialogue and detail in the arc that adapted the game's story, and it features a very different version of the arc raid. It's an adaptation of what we just read in the Perfect Guide. When the gun soldier who killed Maria is questioned, we see the event from his perspective, and Shadow is never there. It's a very different scene. The silhouette of the experimental life form in the capsule doesn't even really look like Shadow at all. Maria still ejects the capsule, but she does so alone. There's no dramatic scene of her and Shadow together, no interaction between them. That means we have two versions of the same event. One from Shadow's perspective, where he remembers Maria saying goodbye to him as she ejects him, and one from the soldier's perspective, where Maria is alone. Which one is real? The soldier's version is far more likely to be true because unlike Shadow, we know for sure that his memories weren't tampered with. If Shadow's presence on the Ark wasn't real, then what does that say about every memory he has of Maria? If you think about it, this is the only time we see Maria outside of Shadow's viewpoint. This scene may be the only time we ever see the true Maria, not one from his fabricated memories. For a brief moment, Sonic Adventure 2 left Shadow's past shrouded in mystery. Players were left questioning if Shadow's memories were real or if he was just following a script written by Gerald. But of course, Sonic Team wasn't interested in keeping this ambiguity, and all of this would get retconned. With Shadow the Hedgehog 2005, the franchise took a drastic turn. Instead of playing into the possibility that Shadow's memories were fabricated, Sega doubled down on making Maria and Shadow's friendship explicitly real. Flashbacks became clearer. Maria's presence in Shadow's past was reinforced, and the idea that Gerald manipulated Shadow's mind was downplayed. By the time of later games, the concept that Shadow's memories were unreliable was practically erased. The official stance became that Maria and Shadow had a deep friendship, and the doubts that Sonic Adventure 2 had planted were forgotten. But something was lost in the process. The genius of Shadow's original story was that he himself didn't know if his past was real. His entire arc was about choosing his own path, regardless of the truth. By making Maria's friendship fact instead of mystery, later games took away one of the most compelling aspects of Shadow's character, his internal struggle. Even if Shadow's past was fake, it didn't matter. That was the real conclusion of Sonic Adventure 2. Whether or not Maria truly played with him as a child, whether or not they ever had a friendship, Shadow ultimately made the decision to honor her wish, because he truly believed and cared about it. The moment when he chooses to save Earth despite Gerald's programming is what makes his story so powerful. Regardless of his memories being real or not, Shadow chooses to be the Shadow that the Maria from his memories believed in. It doesn't matter if the bond between them is real or not, because it matters to Shadow regardless. His sacrifice isn't about proving his past was real. It's about proving that Shadow himself is real, that he has an agency and wishes of his own, no matter how much of his life was manipulated. When Shadow falls to Earth at the end of the game, it's the final statement of his arc. He lived not as a weapon of vengeance, not as a puppet of Gerald, but as a being who made his own choice. And that choice is what truly made him the ultimate life form.
This is my promise I made to you.
Shadow's story in Sonic Adventure 2 is one of the deepest and most fascinating in the Sonic franchise. But most fans easily forget how much mystery was originally baked into his character. The doubts about his past, the possibility that his memories were fabricated, the way later games erased his uncertainty. These details show just how much Sonic Team originally wanted to keep Shadow's story open-ended. Even if later games erased the ambiguity, the original Sonic Adventure 2 leaves room for interpretation. And that's what makes it so special. But this isn't the only example of Sonic's Japanese lore being deeper than most fans realize. There are other major aspects of Sonic's history that most people outside Japan completely misunderstand. Click the video on screen now before it disappears to uncover all of Sonic's story differences in Japan.